Hello everyone, it's TechFaden07 with another brew, and this time I did a 5 with it, and I'm really excited for it. It's a decklist I have been working on for a long time, and after a long time working on it, I feel like it finally settled on me, and I did a list, and it performed really well, getting the 5 from the first try. I tried similar strategies in the past. I've been slowly working towards getting a list that feels very strong. My initial point was making a deck that has two plans for the win, and this one definitely does. Okay, so let's just go through the deck. Obviously, we are playing Glorious Vengeance. This is Reanimate spell that can return Grizzleband from the graveyard. Grizzleband is 8 mana 7/7 flying life linker that draws 7 cards for 7 life and also gets haste from Glorious Vengeance. We have a lot of ways to put the Grizzleband into the graveyard, and we can also do it as early as turn 2 with the turn 1 Stitcher Supplier milling over Grizzlebrand and turn 2 reanimating if needed. We can also turn 2 Scrap Fork Mutt, put the Grizzlebrand into our graveyard. Or also we can just Priest of Fell Rights on turn 2, then discard it on turn 3 and immediately reanimate it with either Priest of Fell Rights or Goddess Vengeance. So we have 7 of these reanimation spells, and they work pretty well, not just with Grizzleband, but also Winota and Priest, also with just any other creature in the deck. Okay, so we have 4 Seasoned Pyromancer. Seasoned Pyromancer is the best card in Winota deck, and this is actually Winota deck. I think the Winota plan in this decklist is actually primer, and we are most games we are winning through Winota and even reanimating Winota often with Glorious Vengeance or Priest of Fell Rights. Priest of Fell Rights is just very good at protecting Winota, but it's also human. So if human Winota can put it into play with attack ability, of course. Okay, so Seasoned Pyromancer is traditionally best card in all Winota decks because it is a human, but when it enters, it can make 2 tokens which are non-human and it trigger a Winota upon attack. So it just works very nice with Winota. It's a perfect addition to deck. The second best target, in my opinion, for Winota ability in Modern is Ranger Captain of Eos. He's a human soldier, but when he enters the battlefield, he searches library for a non-human. There are 9 non-humans in this deck: Ragavan, Stitcher Supplier, Insolent Neonate. Okay, Insolent Neonate is very important one-off in this deck, as we play 4 Grizzlebrands and just very often need a way to discard it. And now we have so many ways to do this. 4 Scrapwork Mutts that also work from the graveyard if we mill it over with the Stitcher Supplier. 4 Seasoned Pyromancer, but now also 4 Ranger Captain of Eos can do it by tutoring for Insolent Neonate. It's just a very good and successful tech for me in these early stages of this deck list. Okay, so some explain some very good Winota targets, 8 of them here. For Winota, actually Winota can put other Winota into play too with ability, and we have 3 more humans in this priest. I think these are the best humans that you can play in a Mardu-based deck like this. Also, there is some other targets like Turak, but I think that kind of card is mostly sideboard for the full coral Omnath matchups and stuff like that. I don't think it's good for the main board in this strategy. Okay, the list looks pretty clean. All cards are 4-offs. Mana base works great, and just 1 neonate and 3 priests, and it looks very clean. It works very well. I was able to win against some of the most played and the most popular decks in the modern right now, and gameplay is very exciting. We have 2 very strong plans. Sometimes you win on Grizzlebrand, sometimes you win on Winota, sometimes you win just by your creatures, which are very good by itself, like Ragavan, Scrap for Max, Season Pyromancer with tokens, Ranger Captain of Eos, stuff like that. Also Priest, Doughty Voidwalker, especially. Sometimes you just win with Magus of the Moon from the sideboard or a few Furies. and all very important pieces. Okay, so on the sideboard we have 3 1-mana creatures to trouble with Ranger Captain of Eos. Giant Killer kills Murktide, also kills Elesh Norn, kills Omnath, kills Goyf, kills Jude is also a very popular deck right now, so it has a lot of targets and it can be pretty good. Forge Tender, pro red guy, which can save your team against opponent's Fury, can save him against the Bolt, save your Winota from Unholy Heat, Fury, whatever. It just works very well with Ranger Captain of Eos plus Winota. It's a very nice Ragavan blocker also. 2 removals on the sideboard. It's not the only removals on the sideboard, but 2 single removals, especially targeted for the um, additional removal against Hammer Time, against Murktide, against Jund. It's also good. So, as I said, 4 Doughty Void Walkers, this creature, when on the play, is a very good threat against all Murktide decks, but also stuff like Hardened Scales, Yawgmoth, which are moderately popular decks, all tier 2 decks at the Modern right now. Okay, so other than that, we have Brotherhood's End. Brotherhood's End is here primarily um, for a Hammer Time matchup to destroy and Hardened Scales to destroy all the cheap artifacts, but can also be good sweeper against some decks that just are faster than us and can make more small creatures. For example, I brought it in against Yawgmoth in the match in this league. They had a lot of small creatures that were about to die to Brotherhood's End, from which I had in my starting hand, but I just didn't draw into second round uh, for a lot of time, so nearly lost the final match. But I was successful in the match 3. Okay, so we have Furies. Furies, just a very good card against these go wild strategies that play a lot of small creatures, all aggro matchups like tribal decks, like Merfolk, like goblins, like elves, and it's also good against Death and Texas type of decks, but also against just some against Yawgmoth, for example, where it's a very efficient Yawgmoth removal, kills Yawgmoth for 0 mana, but also can kill a lot of the mana dorks early, and it's just pretty good against all other mana dork decks. And finally, we have 2 Magus of the Moon on the sideboard, creature which is human, so it can be found with Winota ability. It's often relevant also, and just a very good hate piece for the Amulet Titan and the Tron matchups. And that's it. Mana base is how it is. 9 fetches. 9 fetches are there because of the Magus onto Moon on the sideboard to be able to consistently get our basics when we board in Magus. If I didn't have those, I would play a more cleaner, more less painful mana base. Concerning the mana base, my thoughts after playing this first league with it would probably include trying to probably cut, maybe try to cut Triumph and probably try to cut Shock to add in 2 fast lines. But that's still for debate, and I'll try both in the future. Okay, so I think we are ready to go over the matches. And this is the 5-0 League. I've just brewed this deck, and this was the first time trying it in league. Immediately did a 5-0. Immediately got a very, very powerful uh, a feeling about the deck that just deck can do really some powerful stuff. Okay, so I think my first opponent played Tron, yeah. I had Ragavan in hand, which is pretty good against Tron. Unfortunately, I was playing second, which can be hard, definitely. I got to attack with Ragavan. I play my scrap format, discard my Grizzleband, didn't have Gorios at this point, But anyway, I just my plan is to try to get land, play this Winota next turn if possible. If not, play more creatures to prepare for Winota turn after. So I just play my supplier, mill over the scrapwork mat, and 2 Gorios. Unfortunately, my opponent plays the Wormcoil, which is problematic, but not that much really, because I have a bolt here. I have spare bolt, so I can attack and just bolt my own creature, which opponent decides to block with Wormcoil, so they don't gain life. They blocked my indestructible creature, so I decided again against bolting my own creature because I can use it next turn to bring back Grizzlebrand, but ended up not really needing it. I got a triple bolt, also got a lot of damage in the field, and that was game 1 against Tron. Okay, so game 2, playing second. It can be tricky if they keep a good hand, and I didn't have. And Ragavan is pretty powerful against them. I had just 2 Stitcher suppliers and no Gorios, so I'm kind of hoping to top deck, but I kept the hand mostly because of the Magus of the Moon. Just another basic would be great for me, and I just tried to find the land. I milled over script mat with my first teacher supplier, so I played it turn 2, trying to find that land, and I did get it. Unfortunately, it wasn't a basic, but a foundry. Still pretty decent. I get to play my Magus. My opponent didn't have solutions for it, just to put Giganta to hand, but this Giganta turned out to be pretty good for my opponent. I just didn't have a way to deal with Giganta, and it blocked me pretty good. I just wasn't able to continue attacking. And yeah, the Giganta plan definitely worked out for opponent. I destroyed, sorry, Relic of Progenitus, and my opponent got the Wurmcoil after, so these 2 creatures definitely blocked me very, very good, and I just didn't have options. Unfortunately, I discard Winota in this situation. I didn't have the planes, but I got it from the Pyro, so it would be much better if I didn't do it. If I kept it in hand, I could have gone for the Winota immediately next turn. This way I had to spend the turn to go for Takenuma and then wait for Winota until the next turn. It ended up being not good enough because next turn my opponent also played like Karn, which kind of helped them by removing my Magus of the Moon. And I was in a situation where I can't play both Winota and Magus next turn. Maybe I shouldn't have played that land in this situation, so I have more options if I trigger the Seasoned Pyromancer. I go in with everything, got 5 abilities, get my Spyro first, immediately discard the Magus. Kind of didn't want to discard the Magus really. I got we're not attacking with Indestructible, got another Spyro, discarding again 2 lands. And with another ability, I chose the Ranger Captain of Eos so I can sack it in opponent's upkeep, prevent them from playing more non-creature spells. And yeah, it was pretty good attack here, so I was still definitely in the game. But my opponent now had a lot of mana. And I had another attack coming, but at this point I had most of my creatures already in the game. I didn't have much else to bring in from the graveyard. If I was able to put, I think I boarded out my Grizzlebrands. Yeah, I didn't have Grizzlebrands for this second game. If I had them, maybe I could use this Gorgios better. I still left Gorgios in because of the Winota can be pretty good. And then I can always discard them, have a lot of these discard abilities if needed. But I was in a pretty good position. As you can see, my have a full board to play my opponent, a Karn, and maybe I should have taken opponent's Tron land, but I decided to take their Verncoil instead. And my opponent top decked Ugin for immediate win. They just minus it, minus 3. Exile all my creatures, attack with Giganta for 5, that was it. Okay, so this was the board. Take out the bolt, take out the Grizzlebands, and I put other stuff from the puts the other stuff in, like Doty can be good against against them, pretty aggressive in case I kill some of their good threats, or I can like Verncoil, I can immediately cast it with Doty, which can be pretty good. And yeah, okay, so that was it. That was game 2, the loss against Tron, but it's much easier playing first. Let's see if I did any changes when playing first. Yeah, I put back some of the cards. I usually side differently when I'm playing first or second. I put Dotis back, bring in bolts. There are higher chances of me succeeding to uh, for bolt being relevant. And I had these bolts in hand. Maybe it would be better for them just being Dotis, but bolts were pretty good too. I just went face with one of them, playing 2 of my creatures next turn, having opponent already low on life, so this bolt could be pretty relevant. I ended up playing bolt face, then playing Spyro, drawing two more cards with Spyro, making 1 token in process. This means they have to immediately kill everything before attack. So now I'm able to play my Magus of the Moon. They don't have a solution for the Magus, and I have another Ragavan in hand. Their Giganta is too slow this time, and I get them to 1. I have Ragavan with haste in hand. I also have Scrapwork Mat with haste in my graveyard. It's too much for my opponent, and they have to concede here. So that was game 1 against Tron. Okay, let's go over to game 2. Sorry. Okay, my second opponent. Okay, this is what I was thinking about Triumph. Triumph can be awkward in situations like this. If I have a turn 2 play, I have it like here now in the graveyard. This Stitcher Supplier is often very good. I'm milling a lot of stuff like Spyros to get tokens from the graveyard. Milling these Crapwork Mats is really good. Milling Priest of the Fellrite can also be very strong. So this is what I was thinking. Like this Sour Traum in this situation was pretty bad, and I just didn't have time to play it. Fortunately, I have a lot of these discard effects, so I was able to just get rid of it with the Scrapwork Mat on turn 2. Now get my third land to play the Spyro, make 2 tokens, and then jam Winota next turn and hopefully win. Yeah, if I don't, even if I don't win next turn with Winota, I have Glorious Vengeance plus Priest of Fellrites for the turn after, and it's just so hard for my opponents to deal with it. So I go for Winota. My opponent has a counterspell, which is fine. I still attack for 5 damage, which is huge. In this situation, my opponent is forced to use their removal on a Seasoned Pyro. And I have Priest plus Glorious for the next turn, leaving me with Spyro in hand, which is perfect. And my opponent plays the Murktide here. And so, as I said, I went for the Gorgios. So they really can't beat this. They can't beat this without Graveyard Hate. I go for the Goryo's, they have the counter spell, but I play my priest. Even if they counter the priest, I can play it next turn with Unearth. So it's very, very hard for my opponent to get out of this situation. And even if they had so much of these interactions, but still just weren't able to deal with all this stuff. So I went for they had just bolt no heat, so I was able to attack with everything through Murktide, trigger 4 of my abilities. I even get indestructible Winota attacking, get Ranger Captain of Fios, getting me another creature in hand, getting another Ranger Fios, and my opponent concedes. That was too much for them. They have seen enough. All these creatures have indestructible too, so they can even bolt it. So that's it. That's the game. Okay, that was game 1 against Murktide. Seems very easy like this, but it's a bit harder on the draw, definitely. Had to mulligan also. And kind of unexpectedly, this giant killer ended up being actually very bad. Didn't do anything. If I was thinking about playing the Triumph, is it worth it or not? I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to have it, of course, but is it really necessary? Is the question. And I think we can do without it and just play some 2 fast lands to have uh, slightly less painful mana base, and fast lands are just very good lands in this 3 colors decks. So I just went for the Ranger here, playing another land, playing Stitcher Supplier, trying to find some target for the Gorios. So I was actually again in a pretty good situation. My opponent was pretty far behind, but they get to play the Shredder. Just wasn't able to get another bolt or terminate. I had both of them in this situation. I had just Giant Killer, which was kind of useless. Maybe I should have just played the Giant Killer immediately as a 1/1 creature, not to be try to tap the Shredder or something. Still, I was able to attack with Ranger, which was nice. I had Scrapwork Mod in my graveyard. I should have probably used that this turn. Don't know why I didn't do it. Should have discarded the Giant Killer. I was hoping for them to play the Murktide. Then I would be pretty sad not having this Giant Killer in hand. That didn't happen. I got my second basic in case they find Blood Moon. And in this situation where they got the second flyer and my life was getting lower and lower, situation was becoming worse. I had the Spyro in my graveyard, I had Priest of Fellright, I had the Scrapwork Mat. I'd make 2 tokens here in trying to maybe hope for Winota. Didn't get it. I went for the Scrapwork Mat. I did get Winota then, but it wasn't. It was too slow, unfortunately. I went for the Giant Killer, and I had very good next turn, but my opponent got a very good card selection in the process, and while they didn't have a solution actually for this Winota, uh, it just was a little bit too late, and they had 2 good blockers on the field, so it wasn't. Sorry, they had a subtlety here. I forgot they had it. Yeah, so they had a subtlety here, so that was it. I did attack with everything, and there was a decent amount of damage on the field, but just not enough. And that was it. Yeah, that was game 2. I was a bit too slow. My Vinota was on the top of the deck in that situation where I was making 2 Spyro tokens. So I think I was really close to it. If it just wasn't 1 slot up, I would be able to play Vinota turn before, which would maybe end up pretty different. But yeah, it's fine. So in this situation, Tron was very good, but it's not very good. We have 9 1-drops, so it's questionable in a lot of situations. My opponent went for a double removal here, but all the spells got exiled, so none of these bolts and keys didn't help in them making the delirium or getting cards in graveyard for Murktide. They got another shredder, but yeah, this 2 Dotis just did a very good job. I was able to attack with my rangers, play the second ranger, get another Burrenton, play my Ragavan, have another ranger plus Burrenton in hand. My opponent still, I saw they had another bolt on the top with the Mishra's Bubble. My opponent still didn't find the second land, so I should have attacked with Burrenton here, forgot totally about it. But it didn't really matter much. I just went for the supplier. I played all my stuff, and yeah, my opponent ended up conceding the match. That was the final match of the game 2, so we can now watch match 3. So first was Tron, second was Murktide. All very relevant matchups. I keep mediocre hand with the 2 bolts and the Priest of Fellrights, and the third matchup was Omnath, 4-color Omnath. So really, I met all the most relevant matchups in the modern right now. All games were pretty hard. I had to have really good, strong hands with enough interaction and solutions. My opponent goes for the Ice Fang. It was one of the newer versions of these 4-color piles playing Eldritch Evolution. I think this exact version had just I think they play just 2 Omnaths in the main, so it's not a classic Omnath pile, but a more recent version. I actually blocked with the Season Pyro is not really relevant here. It doesn't get any Winota abilities, so I just attacked with my token, get Ranger, put Supplier in my hand. And yeah, okay. Okay, my opponent went for the Ephemerate here. So in their upkeep, I decided to take their Ranger so they can't go Eldritch Evolution this turn or recast their Ephemerate. I think this was one of the crucial turns. Definitely they can have like Ephemerate here on my turn, but it's not as relevant as I'm getting all these Winota triggers, getting so much advantage in this situation, discarding the Grizzlebrand finally also, getting more and more of these abilities is just too strong. Opponent blocks, they get a lot of I get a lot of damage through, but my opponent is just not able to deal with all this stuff. Okay, I play my Ranger. I take the Neonate. I play the Neonate. Should have played this Blood Crypt untapped, but there is just no chance my opponent is getting out of this. So I think it really wasn't necessary. My opponent plays fetch, goes to fetch. I could immediately kill them if I had the Blood Crypt untapped, but yeah, it's just so low chance of them having anything. But yeah, alright, I could have done it. That was the first match. It didn't look great in the first few turns, but it ended up being a really good hand. I kept a mediocre hand against again this turn, but like I play a lot of these discard effects, and drawing Grizzleband in the start can often be pretty good. I even resolved the Priest of Fellrights on turn 2, so this means I need just even got the sorry, what is it called? The Neonate. I had to discard my Grizzlebrand, and I've got just need a reanimation spell to put it back on the field. I go for the Stitcher Supplier. I have Priest in the graveyard, so I just need like a few more mana to bring back my Grizzlebrand. They play their Omnath. Get the 5 mana, get the ability going, and they got the Eldritch Evolution, which puts Elesh Norn in the grave, and didn't have a solution for the Elesh Norn. We'll check the sideboard, and actually made a mistake here, didn't put Terminate in game 2. I don't really need it that much, but I need it for the Elesh. I didn't know they're actually playing the Elesh. I think this deck has a version that plays Elesh and a version that doesn't play Elesh. So I didn't put Terminates in, but I put Terminates in for the game 3, you will see. And yeah, this Elesh just I got the Magus of the Moon, which would definitely win me the game if they just didn't have this Elesh. And I also got the Grizzlebrand. I couldn't do the ability immediately. It was pretty even game. Grizzlebrand on one side, my opponent can't attack. Elesh Norn on the other side doing a crazy value. My opponent able to get a colored mana because of the Omnath and the Elesh doubling its landfall ability. So I attack with the Grizzlebrand here, try to pressure them, play two of my Furies, discard another Grizzlebrand so I can get it back again next turn if they kill it. And my opponent got a lot of mana, a lot of card draw here, getting rid of the Magus and one of my Grizzlebrands. And unfortunately, I just had, I think, two Grizzlebrands in for this game. So I thought this is a good strategy to just leave the two of them, as I was expecting for my opponent to put in some graveyard hate, but I guess they didn't even have it. Maybe they have some endurances. They didn't draw them in any of the games. Okay, finally my opponent blocks with Elesh Norn, and I get to bolt the Elesh. But my Grizzlebrand gets exiled in this situation, and I don't have any more Grizzlebrands in the deck, and that was like one of the main reasons why I wasn't able to win this, because I had too low cards in my library. I had just 11 cards at this moment, and in this situation, I was assessing like, do I keep playing this game? Will I have enough time for the last game? But I played pretty fast, so I was pretty confident I'll be able to do this. I attack with Fury, play some more of my creatures that can block next turn. I'm also low on life, but very small chance of opponent succeeding of getting through with damage. So they go for the Ephemerate, and now I'm on 9 life. I actually got everything with Winota that I could. I go for the one last Winota attack. I get Winota back with Gorios with haste. I get two scrap forks from the graveyard. I got another Winota from the deck with the Indestructible. Got the Magus Indestructible attacking. And at this point, I'm just on 4 minutes of time in my deck. Yeah. And I just at this point I had a friend come over to me and started talking to me, so it was kind of awkward for me that he just came by. I wasn't at home, so I had to talk for him a bit, losing my time. Sorry, what happened here? Why is nothing happening? Sometimes this just blocks, but anyway, it's not important. This was the last attack. The opponent was on 2 high life, so I decided to give up after this game with just 3 minutes on my clock. And with exactly 3 minutes on my clock, I start game 3, but I had a pretty good pretty good hand in game 3. I was comfortable of playing with this 3 minutes on the clock. So I decided to go for the priest on turn 3. I really wanted to actually just reanimate the Grizzleband and not with the Glorious Vengeance for just one turn. So this way I got the Grizzleband, draw 7 cards immediately. So those 7 cards weren't very good. Actually, I just got a bunch of lands mostly. So I wasn't even able to use another Grizzleband ability. But they didn't have Solitude to kill my Grizzleband, so it was pretty good. And I used Goryo's to bring back Winota too, so triggering Winota with Grizzleband actually pretty good. Okay, so I got a lot of 4 of these Winota abilities, and my opponent decides to go for the Solitude after the attack, which is very good for me, obviously. I got 1 more trigger. They go for the Omnath, but Omnath really can't solve my opponent's problems in this match. I go for another Winota and attack for the lethal next turn. Got a bunch more creatures in the match and got a lethal damage immediately. My opponent blocked the biggest creature, but I got exactly 12 damage through, and that was the game. Okay, that was the last game against 4-color Omnath. And now I played against opponent who was on a 4-0. They actually they were on a 4-0 with Eldrazi's. We talked a bit, so I know that. My opponent was a 4-0, so he was on a pretty good run here. I start with a mediocre hand again, but you know I have Ranger. I have a Ranger of Captain which can find me the Neonate which can discard the Grizzleband from my hand, and then 1 Gorios really does the job. But I got the Gorios immediately, and I had Grizzleband already in my graveyard, so I was able to immediately attack for 11, which means another Gorios plus Bolt next turn can finish my opponent. And surprisingly, I just wasn't able to find the bolt. Where was my bolts? I don't know where was bolts were on the bottom of library or something. I just wasn't able to find those bolts. But I got another Gorios, so 3 turns attacking with the hasty Grizzlebrand was enough to win this, and so I was able to win it without bolts, which were all in the top bottom 20 cards of my library. Okay, so game 1 ended up being pretty easy with the 3 Grizzlebrand, turn 2 Grizzlebrand, turn 3 Grizzlebrand, turn 4 Grizzlebrand, doing the job. Pretty hard to play against that with the fair deck and without the hate in game 1. So my opponent got the relic, which I was really expecting a lot of relics. That's why I didn't even have the Grizzlebands in the game 2, which helped me a lot. And this is just a very strong thing that you're able to do when you know that your opponent is going to bring the graveyard hate for one of your strategies, and I just completely ignore their hate, take out all my Grizzlebands, take out 2 of my Glorious Vengeance, take out 2 Stitcher Suppliers and 1 Neonate, and bring a lot of other stuff, useful stuff from the graveyard. I had they had solution for my Magus, but I had another one in hand. They unfortunately had solution for that too with another Walking Ballista. I was fine with that. I had the Brotherhood's End, kill both their Chalice and the Ballista, so I can play my Priest. Priest then next turn can all again bring back the Magus if needed. But they got another Ballista, so I didn't do it. I can only do this as sorcery, so there wasn't much point in bringing back Magus. They would kill it anyway, and I would just lose 3 life. And in this situation, I decided to use my priest, get back the Magus from the graveyard, but my opponent ended up having all his dust and destroying all my board. But I got Winota and played Ragavan next turn, so I immediately got the Winota abilities and put my opponent on 4 life, getting more cards, more value from Winota, and my opponent concedes they didn't have any more solutions for this, and that was the game 4. Okay, so now it was time for the final match, and in final match I got to play the Yawgmoth. Okay, so I played second. My opponent mulliganed to 5, which helped me a lot in this. It's not easy to play second in this matchup when you're playing a creature deck. I think this is definitely not easy matchup, but also very winnable. Have a lot of solutions for the stuff they're doing. Okay, so they go for they go for the grist. I try to play as many creatures as possible to pressure grist. My opponent has just 1 card at this point, so I discard all my priests. They make another token, play the Birds of Paradise, nothing too crazy. I go for the Ragavan here, discard tokens, I'll make 2 tokens and just attack Grist with everything. Grist was like the main value engine at this point. They were just looking for the Yawgmoth. I didn't get it luckily this turn. I had the Spyro in my hand, the draw into land, so I just played both Mutt and Spyro in this situation. I tried to get maximum value here, put maximum number of creatures on the board, and I get my Winota, which was really important. And this attack with a lot of these creatures was also very important because I was able to get damage through, and that can be very important in the Yawgmoth matchup because often it depends if it's important to be at the same life as your Yawgmoth opponent or or them being below you, because that way if they play the Geralt Messenger, they can't kill you with the Geralt Messenger combo because they need to have more life than you to be able to do this. And they got the Yawgmoth to use 4 or 5 abilities. I killed a lot of my creatures, but I still got 1 Winota ability. And they blocked the biggest creature, but I still got 6 damage through. And it was enough to put my opponent on 1 life without real chances of succeeding. Anything, I've also sack Ranger in the upkeep just in case, and that was enough to win the first game. Okay, so second game was pretty interesting. I had um, I had 3 lands, but 2 of them were basics, which ended up being a big problem. I went for the red source here, immediately killing the birds. I immediately knew this not having this second red is definitely going to be a problem. They had Urborg, so I was able to play the Doughty. Doughty is very good against my opponent's deck. Stops their combo, stops their creature from dying. So I really just needed to hit. I got Brotherhood's End. Brotherhood's End was such a good top deck here. Just needed that second red, but I just wasn't able to get it. Doughty is very good against the Yawgmoth, stopping their combo. They need to kill it to be able to combo off with and get the value of their undying creatures. I had the Goryo's in hand, so I decided to block with the Stitcher Suppliers, try to put the legendary creature into the graveyard. Also had the Priest, so getting to 5 lands for Priest would be pretty good. I keep attacking with the Darty, and I I made a mistake here. I was trying to go for top decking the red source for to play this Brotherhood's End, and I decided to just prevent them from playing Eldritch Evolution or Chord this turn. I just decided to sack the Ranger in their upkeep, but it ended up being a pretty bad choice. And but I think I would lose this anyway. I think it wasn't that important, but okay, I had another turn here with killing their endurance, playing their endurance, blocking their Geist, and still I had a chance, but not really at this point. They played the Magus of the Moon. Magus of the Moon made it harder for me to kill. I wasn't able to kill Blood Artist, but I needed to kill Magus first. So that was the game. A few bad decisions and not being able to get. I was playing on top decking the land for a few turns, but I didn't get it, and it was crucial for me losing this game. Okay, so siding out my Ragavans, siding out 2 Grizzleblends, leaving 2 in. I kind of need space for some of my stuff. On the play, I didn't play the hands. I think it's not. I think it's good on the draw, but not so good on the play when I expect to have more of my creatures. And on the play, I try to pressure them with Winota. I go for decide to discard the Glorious Vengeance to get the token for the Winota next turn. I had the land to play it. I decided to go for the basic so they can play the Blood Moon. Attack with the both of my creatures, get the Spyro. I decided again to discard both of my non-land cards to get more tokens, but also this Scrapwork Mat is actually better in the graveyard with Winota, and Priest can be activated next turn too. And it was actually a very good thing I played discard the Priest, because now I was able to use the Priest ability immediately and pay 3 life, get Winota back, and immediately get the 2 abilities from the elemental tokens. Attack for a lot of damage, and even got 2 more. I even got another Pyromancer in, and also find a Priest, which can then next turn again be used to bring back my Winota in case they kill it. If not, I can bring back another Spiral from the graveyard, and it was just too much damage on the field for my opponent, too much advantage. I played Scriptwork Mat with haste, I played the Doughty, and attack with everything, get a lot of these abilities. And that was the game. My opponent made me play this until the end, but it was over. Got 13 extra damage, and that was the entire league. That was the trophy league with this brew. So it feels so good to brew a deck, immediately go play it in the league, and immediately do the 5-0. It's one of the best feelings when brewing, and it's very satisfactory. And but this didn't just happen. Like I went to brew a deck and did the 5-0 immediately. I made Mardu Vinota, uh, like when new Nahiri came out to try to use it. I played it in a Lightning Skelemental type with Unearths, but it just wasn't Lightning Skelemental wasn't Good fit with Winota because it doesn't stay on the field, it goes to the graveyard, and you can't use it next turn to trigger it, and it was just not working as well as I imagined it. But I slowly thought about the deck, about inclusions, about other strategies I could use, and I thought, why not just remove the Unearth, play the Glorious Vengeance. It bring back Winota. It also bring back another strong threat. Play a lot of these discard spells anyway. Just adjusted everything a bit. Added some Priest of Fellrights in the main. Added one Insolent Neonate as a discard outlet for the Griselbrand. And yeah, so I really like it. Really satisfied with this idea, with this decklist, and feel like it feels really clean. It's been, as I said, it's been a long time, but was trying to find a good shell for Winota, and I feel this one is really good. Two very good plans, very efficient plans, both um, performing very well when they're needed, and you can just combine between these two and try to use it optimally in matchups where one is good, like in this Eldrazi matchup. The Griselbrand was just too good. They just didn't have any solutions for it game one. And game two, I completely sided out my complete graveyard strategy. Just leave two Gorios in and some priest of Felres, so they still have to worry about it, but you just don't care about it that much. And it was very effective, and I commented on the sideboard already, and I talked about possible addition of fast lands in the mana base instead of Triumph and one shock. But that's it. Rest of the deck feels very good. I'm really liking it, and I think this is very clean and very strong reanimator strategy to play in modern right now. Okay, so I hope you like the deck. Hope you like the gameplay. If you want to help the channel, click like, click subscribe, and that's it for today. Thank you. Goodbye.